Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Second Cup of Coffee. Pastor Tom with you. Right next to me is Brandon. He is the one who makes all of this happen, films it, edits it, makes sure it gets to me so we can post it. I don't say thank you enough, but thank you.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. He's going to step behind the camera today. We're going to have a conversation based on what we've been talking about this month, Mary, Joseph, and the baby. And Brandon, kind of finding where we fit, we looked at those three key people in the nativity story, the Christmas story. And where do we fit? How do I fit? Because I'm kind of stirred in this way that if I don't find my fit in that story, it just becomes folklore, myth,
Right.
tradition. It's something I kind of remember why I'm buying gifts and putting up my tree, or however I celebrate, right? Or however maybe my little clan celebrates. And as much as I may even open Luke 2 and read it, where do I fit? Where do I fit? And I don't have to have a major part, right? I don't have to be Joseph or Mary, or certainly not going to be Jesus. Maybe I'm a shepherd, maybe I'm hopefully a wise man, or maybe I'm just one of the people who came from Bethlehem when the shepherds went out and found them, and they came through.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an innkeeper, right? Who had the chance and said, "Well, I don't have room." A lot of those places have been explored and gone down, and we don't have time to go over all of that today. But for you, just personally, with maybe not you're overarching your whole life, but just where you're at right now, what do you see in the Christmas story? What comes alive to you in 2023 where you're like, man, this is maybe different for me this year than it's been other years, or I see this a little bit different than maybe I did. Just the starting point, you don't even have to go here, but for some of the people that are watching, the Christmas story really changes when you have children.
Yeah.
When you watch your wife give birth and you're thinking about in a manger, laying a newborn in a stable, in a manger, or not a stable, but giving birth in a stable, laying it in a manger, you're like, it's mind-blowing what Jesus would do to step down, to fulfill the will of his Father and to be born. Yeah. So anyway, I think it changes, but I think it's incumbent upon us to, where do we fit in that? What is God saying to me about that? What is God saying to my life through that, so that it doesn't just become folklore or a fairy tale or,
what's interesting is Jesus does come into the lowest place. We call it a manger, but it's really a trough. It's an animal trough. They would eat out of it. And I love the beautiful representation that he is the Prince of Peace, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords.
He is all that. He is
all that,
right? And
he is no room in the inn, and he is laying in a trough. And so I can imagine, what is Joseph? What's going through Joseph's head? They're on a long journey, and it's like, hey, I'm giving birth. We got to find a spot.
I think I'd feel like a failure.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
This is...
Because he doesn't have the full scope of what's happening, right? We have the whole picture now, because we're like, oh, Jesus, he grows up, he goes to the cross, and I see my whole salvation story in there. So Christmas is beautiful. It's the birth of our Lord and Savior and all that kind of stuff. But, man, Joseph has got to be freaking out, because he doesn't have the whole story. The angel appears to his betrothed, not him.
Right.
She has a better story, and she's the mother, so she's got a better intuition. She hears from the Lord. We see very little of Joseph. We don't know what happens even later on when Jesus is growing up. Just don't.
He kind of disappears off the pages.
Yeah, we have no idea. We just fill in the blanks. But I couldn't imagine what goes through his head as a provider, and I'm not even married to this woman, and we're having this baby, and it's supposed to be the God of the universe. And
it's funny that you say that, Brandon, because he was of the house and lineage of David, which is why they were in Bethlehem to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
How far had that lineage gone down that he can't even get a hotel room
in his own.
Right.
Like his family, like lineage.
He can't even play the King of David card. Like, I'm the great, whatever, grandson of.
All these guys are.
Right. Yeah. We all are, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, but man, that would test my manness.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd be off the side, having a conversation with God. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, look, I barely signed up for this. I do love her, and I want the best for her. You got to help me out here, because this is not the best.
Yeah.
What we're walking through right now isn't the best. And then all of a sudden, here come these shepherds, right? And then it's like somebody left the gate open, and people are just pouring in there, right? And I don't know how I would do with all of that, but I think you're hitting on something really important about Joseph and about the fact that we are still who we are, even if the circumstance says we're something different. He was chosen because of his lineage, who David was to God. Yeah. And God knew who Joseph was and who Joseph was going to be and who he was going to be to Mary. And then if it hadn't have been Joseph, it wouldn't have been Bethlehem.
Right.
He's a fulfillment of prophecy.
Yeah.
He is let me say it this way. He's the conduit to the fulfillment of prophecy, because if it wasn't him, there's no guarantee. You know what I mean? It would have to be somebody out of David's lineage who was the stepfather, so to speak, or betrothed to Mary. So let me encourage you. You fit no matter what you think your circumstance is. And whether the circumstances are great or not, you fit. And so even if it's like, I'm laying this baby he's probably cleaning the trough. He's probably, and speak to this, Brandon, please. Because you've been walking with the Lord a long time. We've known each other a long time. There is times where you just do what you can do.
Yeah. It's
not great revelation. The trough needs to be clean. Like, she's having a baby.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if that angel's going to show back up. I don't know. I don't know if their midwives are there. Maybe there were. We don't really know. But you're just there. So speak to this if you can. Have you ever been in a place in your life where you're like, I'm just kind of here, not kind of here, like I'm here. God's doing something. What do I do? Do you know what I mean? Like there's no playbook. There's no like, Joseph, it's just, you're there.
Yeah.
What do you do in that? I mean, how do you find, let me say it this way, how do you find your footing in that? Because I think that would be hard.
Yeah.
How do I fit?
It's hard because you're trying to figure out, am I living up to,
That's a good word.
the word that was given? Am I doing my part? Am I really, we all wrestle with that point where we're just like, did I hear right? Like, am I in the right city? Were we supposed to leave where we were? And then, you do have all these people
She could be back there by her family. She could be back in.
There's 1,000 reasons to stay.
Yeah.
And you're telling everybody, hey, we're leaving.
Right.
She's pregnant. We're on a donkey. We're just going to go.
And
good.
Because the government said so.
Yeah.
Try running that by in America.
We have to go do our census. Wear your mask. No, not me. Well.
But maybe that is, God is directing you, right?
Yeah.
But you hit this, something that you said is, am I doing my part to fulfill the word? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? And we were talking off camera, so I'm going to kind of lead him into this a little bit. You really have to follow the peace, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You have to follow the peace.
If I have a peace and I have an inner, not just a generated peace or laziness, but an actual underlying peace, then I just got to rest in that, even though, there's really not much he can do when she's giving birth. Right. I mean, she's carrying Jesus. She's going to give birth to Jesus. She's going to feed Jesus, all of that stuff. But I just have to trust the peace. Can you talk to the people just about, encourage them about following the peace, even though they may not feel as effective in the word or where they are in the word right now?
Yeah, I can share what we talked about off camera.
Yeah.
Just in my prayer time, I just had this vision with Jesus where we're walking side by side on this cobblestone path, and I'm asking him, like, I want to know how to live from a place of peace, because peace is not arrogant. Peace is, it's not boastful. It's a lot like love, right? But you can live from a place of love and still like not have peace.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. Peace is unique because it's, you're not at odds with people. You're
not striving.
You're not striving, right? Yeah. So we're walking on this path, and I said, Jesus, I want to know what it means to live from a place of peace. And he says, okay, now turn around and just walk backwards. And I'm walking backwards, and I'm trying to kind of look, behind me and stuff. And I fall over. I trip over a rock, and Jesus, I look up, Jesus laughing at me, and he tells me to get back up. And he says, okay, now I want you to keep your gaze, keep your eyes on me, focus on me, and listen to my voice. And I start to walk backwards, and he says, okay, take a little step to the left. Now take a little step to your right. And I'm able to walk without tripping and falling. And living from a place of peace is keeping your eyes fixed on him. He's perfect peace.
Wow. And
listening to his voice. Now, Joseph is doing the best that he can. As far as we know, he's listening to that voice.
Yeah, right.
And he
modeled that. We see it because
he models that, right?
All the way through. Yep.
We don't see any variation or him going
God
off
says
path,
it, he does it.
He does it.
We were just talking about when you go further down after the wise men show up and Herod's all worked up in a dither, he gets an angelic dream, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he woke up that night and they left.
Yeah.
That night. And that is one of the reasons I think Joseph was picked, because there was an obedience in him that never wavered. Like when he chose it, he did it. Like you said it, I'm going to do it. And man, that's amazing. He had David's heart, I think, in that aspect. And so I think that's why God's like, he's the one.
Yeah.
He's the one. But I think because of that, Mary had a peace. Could you imagine being betrothed to a guy who was waffling, like unstable, right?
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked.
She needed somebody, especially if she was as young as we think she was, having a newborn in a
now,
manger.
She's betrothed, so current culture at the time, she may not have even known Joseph. You know what I mean?
Like fully.
It wasn't
right.
Hey, we were hanging out at the wedding party and looked across there and I saw Joseph and we connected. No, not the culture.
So that brings a whole other dynamic to it, man.
It does, because we see later on in Ephesians, and Paul says, wives, submit to your husbands. It wasn't because wives were unruly. It was because they didn't know their husband. So he's saying, wives, submit to this man. He is going to be the leader of the household. Submit to him. But then he gives a harsher kind of course of action for the men that, treat the wife as Christ teaches the church. But
because they need to be modeling Jesus, because Jesus you can trust.
Yeah. So it's very possible that Mary doesn't really know Joseph.
Wow.
And they're betrothed. So they haven't even gone through the whole marriage, getting to know each other and your dislikes and everything. She's following some guy out to a land that she may not even
see. And that brings a whole other dynamic again. Like I said, could you imagine you're pregnant, and then because of this guy, I got to go over there.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I'm over here.
Everything you know.
But does your mind, and we would have to ask them one day in heaven, does your mind connect that, not till after the fact, and I would say way after the fact, that Bethlehem is where he said he was going to be born? I don't know your mind makes all that connection. You're just worried about being pregnant. Where is this child going to be born? Yeah. Is he going to live? I mean, it's a big thing to deliver the Son of God, right? And then to take care of the Son of God, whether you're Mary or Joseph. Brandon, I appreciate it, because what you've done is, again, fleshed it out into a way where I can receive the story in a way that I've never received it before, and realize that if I keep my eyes on him, I'm going to walk in peace.
Yeah.
And because ultimately for them, Mary, Joseph, it was about trust. And they had to trust the word that came, no matter what the circumstance was. The circumstance wasn't as important as the Word.
Yeah.
The Word made flesh was Jesus. Your circumstance is not as important as the Word, so trust Him. Find Him in this Christmas story. Embrace Him in a new way, and He's going to manifest to you in a new way in your life, and that's exciting. So we appreciate you. I appreciate you for sure. Thank you guys for watching. If it meant something to you, please share it. Like it, subscribe, whatever you do. Regardless, if you do or you don't, just know that we love and we appreciate you. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.